Good morning, and welcome to another edition of Mark's Inspiration, here to inspire, enlighten, and build up humanity. I don't know how much I will inspire you today, but we're going to talk about what's trending, what's in the news. And as we all know, the Ukraine crisis is in the news. But how much of a crisis is it? I was over there 5 years ago, as I said yesterday, and they were fighting then. Okay, about a year before that, or 2 years, I was going to go, and they were fighting then. But I couldn't go because at that time they had I think they had a blockade off of Odessa, and at least what the media said, it was too dangerous to go. So I canceled my flight and went a year later, and they were still fighting in Crimea then, and they had destroyed the airport. It was like bombed, and then as long as I stayed away from there, I was okay. So that was away over on the east side, and Kiev is more on the west side. So I went, had a good time, no problem. But I had seen where they had been fighting in Kiev before I was there. So I have to wonder now what's going on. Is this any different than what's been going on earlier, or are we just focusing on that? Is the media just focusing on that to get our attention off of something else? Or to get our attention on something because this crisis that we've had in the last couple of years has slowed down, or it's becoming less of a crisis, or we're all just getting used to it. Maybe nothing has changed there either. Who controls the numbers? I don't know. Do you know? How many deaths did we have from the crisis we've had for the last couple of years? Really? I mean, no one really knows, do they? We know what people tell us, but we don't really know the truth. I mean, if we're honest with ourselves, do we really know? And just like the Ukraine crisis that we're having now, is this a crisis that has just arisen, or is it something they want us to focus on now? These are questions we need to ask ourselves instead of blindly listening to what the media tells us and just believing it's all true. Hell, don't believe what I tell you is true. Check it out for yourself. All I'm telling you is not to believe everything you hear on the news, radio, TV, YouTube. Moi? Yeah, I'm not even telling you to believe me. But I'm just giving you my view on it from my 61 years of living, and I've seen many crises in my life. Some of them out there, and some of them I've created myself in my own little world with my family and business, my life. There's always going to be some crisis out there, but you can't allow it to control you. Now, the media wants to keep you in fear. I said this yesterday because they want to keep you watching. They want to keep you into what's going on. They want you to wonder what's going to happen next. Let's look at a couple of the headlines from the latest news media. I don't know how to put it on the screen yet. I'm getting there, but be patient. But I'll just read a couple. Here's one here. ABC News. Russian media defends decision to invade Ukraine. But of course they would. Just like our media defends our decisions to do whatever we're going to do. So there again, what is the agenda of the media? What is the agenda of the government here and over there and in the Ukraine, as well as Russia? What is the agenda of the news media? I believe, and I could be wrong, that their agenda is to keep you watching, to keep the ratings up. More people that watch, the more money they make. The oldest agenda or the oldest motive in time, money, gold, whatever it happens, goats, pigs, whatever the form of currency happens to be at the current time, and whatever culture, whatever currency they're using in the culture. More, they want more of that. Okay, so we got that one. Here's another one. We have this photo of Russia invades Ukraine, and it's a picture of the city from a far distance with smoke coming up. It could be a burning factory. Who knows? Now, it wouldn't be unlike the media to do something like that, but probably it's a bombing. They bombed something, but who knows? Once again, do you really know? No, you don't. I remember when they had the Ferguson riots here. Okay, I lived in St. Louis, and I was traveling around the world at the time. And people would ask me, man, things are really terrible in the U.S. I said, what do you mean? Well, that Ferguson deal. It's like, no, I live close to that. It's no big deal. And what they would do on the news is they would zero in on one block. I think they burned some buildings in several blocks, okay? But the amount of people just filled one city block. I'm not even sure if it filled that much, but the way they portrayed it and the way they talked about it, you would think the whole city was on fire. The whole city was just chaos, riots everywhere. The reality was this was one block. Let's say it was 4 blocks. Okay, the city has thousands of blocks. If you moved back with a camera to the whole city, you would see that this was just a minute piece of the city, a very small section. But yet the news media blew it up like it was the whole world. I mean, that's what they do. They want you to think everything is just going to hell. They want you to be afraid. And the reason I'm talking to you about this is I want you to not be in fear. If there is a devil, it's doubt and fear. So I want you to be in faith, so to speak, or be in belief that things are okay, that there are really a lot of good things going on in the world, that it's not all going to hell, as the news media would have us believe. Things are good. Most people in the world today are fed. We do have people starving. That's still unfortunate. But it's better now in the world than it ever has been. We've always had wars. We've always had conflicts. We've always had natural disasters. What haven't we always had? We haven't always had the news that can pick these things up all over the world and bring them into your living room. In the old times, you wouldn't know anything about these things, and your life would be fairly peaceful. But now we hear about the crises all over the world, and it gives people a feeling that the world is going to hell. It's just getting terrible and more terrible, when in the reality is it's no more terrible than it's ever been. Things are better for people in the world now than they have ever been. We've always had tribes or groups or nations killing other people in other nations. It's just the way of humanity, unfortunately. But maybe it's not unfortunate. Then again, who knows? Who knows what it would be like if we had a world of peace? It sounds good to me, and probably sounds good to you too. But what would you do? Would you be bored? I wonder. This is like a dramatic movie that we live in, this reality we create for ourselves. Okay. What else we got? Putin. That's a Putin? Is that how you pronounce it? Putin as innocent victim. Russia's media alternative reality in Ukraine. Russian disinformation. Where have we heard that? Misinformation in the U.S. We are not allowed to put out misinformation. But I guess in Russia, it's disinformation. Disinformation ramps up as conflict in Ukraine grows. Now there's a good one. Misinformation, disinformation. Who decides what is misinformation or disinformation? I would say the government decides that. What they allow the media to put out there. Propaganda, yes, some of it. Look at all the misinformation we have gotten through the government and the regulatory, well, let's just say the regulated systems, the medical systems, the healthcare systems, and the people that run these in the government. Look at the information that we have gotten, which later proved to be false. But yet they were focusing on misinformation from people like, well, I didn't put any misinformation out, but I saw some people put out information that wasn't congruent with what the government or mainline media, which I think is controlled by the government, wanted you to hear. And it was quickly deleted. You were quickly knocked off of social media platforms if your information, even if it was wrong, like theirs was wrong, if you put it out there, it was taken down. If it was not congruent with what the government and the mainline media wanted you to believe was true. Now, what was true? I'm not sure. But later, they come to find out that the information that the mainline media was putting out and the government was wrong. So they were actually putting out misinformation, but yet they were stopping everyone else from having an opposing opinion or talking about anything that contradicted with what they said was truthful information. So how can you believe any of that? And I'm not saying you should believe me or any of the other people that were putting out information contrary to what the government says. I'm not an expert on any of this, but I'm just asking you to ponder, to think about these things, to contemplate. Most people, I know you think, but most people out there, none of us, most people out there don't think. They just take in the information from everything that's coming into them every day. They say there's like 5,000 messages that get sent to you every day, advertisements and different things to different platforms and varieties of ways. And most people don't think, they just remember what's been put into their head. They just regurgitate and talk about it to other people. So what I'm asking you to do is to contemplate these things. And I'll back up to the last crisis, which is dwindling down now in light of this Ukraine crisis. Stop and think about that. They would have had us thinking, whoever the infamous they are, that every day when you went out and you came home, you would tell your wife, Martha, I seen about 8 or 10 people laying on the street today, dead, bleeding out of the mouth and gagging and coughing and taking their last breath. Now that's how the media would have had us think how terrible it was. Now, I never seen anybody like that. I did meet a lot of people who were told that they had that, how would I say, illness, and they got by just fine. And I know 2 people that passed away from it. One was in very ill health, he was younger than me, and another who was 97 years old. Now, I have to go by what I experience in my life. I'm not going to create an experience in my life because someone tells me that thousands of people are dying or hundreds of thousands of people are dying. How do I know that's true? I don't. But if I don't contemplate, if I don't think for myself, then I'm going to buy into that, whether it's true or not. Why not think for yourself? Why not be an independent thinker? I know we've all been taught from childhood, from school, to sit in our rows, to comply. And if you don't comply, you're a bad boy or a bad girl. This is programming that's been put into us, or we've been subjected to from the time we started early, maybe even preschool and kindergarten and on up. To break away from that is very difficult, but you can do it if you desire. Now, the alternative, if you decide to go along with this programming, is to live in doubt and fear. Now, if you decide to break away and think for yourself, you will find yourself feeling much more freedom and peace when you start to think for yourself. Now, but as an independent thinker, you take a lot of responsibility on because you don't comply. You don't follow the crowd. If you follow the crowd, guess where you're going to end up? You're going to end up where the crowd is. Do you want to be like the crowd, or do you want to be different? Do you want to be unique? I'm assuming, of course they say only a fool assumes, I'm assuming that if you're here, you want to be different. You don't want to follow the crowd. You realize that the crowd, what do they say? If you follow the herd, you're going to step in the crap. Okay, and I think if you're here, you don't want to follow the herd. So the first place to begin not following the herd is by not listening to what the herd listens to, by not listening to what the masses allow to come into their mind, by not being influenced by that. Now, that's not to say you shouldn't keep informed. I don't watch the news. I occasionally look at these, which kind of gets me going sometimes, and I wonder, what is the truth? What is true? It's really hard to tell because even if you were there experiencing these things firsthand, it is really only your perception of the truth, which is distorted and filtered through all the experiences of your life. That's why 2 people can read the same book, and it's 2 people reading 2 different books. We all perceive things differently. Now, some of you, or someone, not my followers, of course, or subscribers, thank you. Some people who may just watch this video may think, well, this guy's an idiot. Can't he see what's going on over there? I see what they're telling us is going on over there. Is there conflict there? Well, honestly, I don't know. I'm not there. But I believe there is. I believe that much is true. But how much of that is true and how much of what the media is telling us? Because you got to keep in mind, as I said, that the media wants you to be afraid. So let's say things were really, they had a few skirmishes. Some people have died, and that's terribly unfortunate. We've had people dying in wars for years. Many of Americans have died, have given their life, have sacrificed their lives so you and I could be here today doing this video together. It's unfortunate, but we all live and we all die, some sooner than others. Hey, don't complain about being old. Some people never have that privilege. But remember, you have to remember the agenda. My agenda. What is my agenda? Okay, I would like to have more subscribers, and I would like to influence you. I would like you to think more positively, to be inspired to achieve your desires, to make something of your life. That's what I want for you. Now, why do I want that? I'm selfish, because if I can get that, if I can get you to do that, then that comes back to me multiplied. I don't even have to get you to do it. My intention is to help you to be all you can be. And by doing that, it comes back to me and reinforces within me what I know. So yes, there are selfish motives. We all have selfish motives. Even Mother Teresa, if you know who she is, Gandhi, I'm sure you might know who he is. They got satisfaction out of helping people. They got a certain feeling from that. And that's what we're all chasing, is a feeling. That's what the news media tries to imprint upon you. They want to give you the feeling of fear, of insecurity, and they want to have the solution for you. Just watch it 10 and we'll tell you what's going to happen. And you think if you watch it, then that gives you some type of control. If you know what's going on, you feel like you have some type of control. My desire to know is directly proportionate or equal to my desire to know is directly proportionate to my need to control. See, when you think you have to know everything, it's you want to know because you want to control. So if you feel like you know, like if you listen to the news, hey, I know what's going on, you feel like you have some kind of control. And as humans, we want to feel we have some kind of control. We really have no control over what goes on in the outer world. I can't control that war. I couldn't control this last 2-3 years of this world problem that we had, this health problem. All I can control is what goes on between my ears. And that's really all you can control. But lo and behold, when you control that, your outer world controls itself. Everything is a projection of what's going on inside of you. That's not to say that you're going to stop these things from going on by controlling your mind, but you will only draw into your world, into your experience, the things that you desire if you keep your mind on what you desire and off of what you fear. I didn't experience the tragedies that a lot of people did during this last couple of years of health crises. I didn't experience it. My family didn't experience it. None of my close friends experienced it. Well, except the one. I hadn't seen him for years, but he was in bad health. He was 56, and he did a lot of drugs earlier in his life, and his lungs were shot. So when he got it, if he did get it, and I don't know that, he had a spell several years before where he almost died from lung problems. So who knows? But so that was the only experience I had. My experience was a lot of people had this, or they were told they had it, and they said it was like having the flu. Some said they would rather have the flu. No, some said they would rather have this than the flu. Some people didn't notice much difference at all. And some people struggled a little bit with it, but not too much. So to say I had no fear, I would be lying. And this thing here, I have a little fear about the Ukrainian crisis. But you don't let that fear control you. And just like faith or belief, don't feed that fear by continually watching the news. It feeds the fear. And fear is the opposite of faith or belief, if you like. I'm not a religious person. I like to use the words. Faith is belief. According to your faith or your belief, it is done to you. If you believe things are terrible and becoming more terrible, that will come into your life. That will be manifest in your outer world because of your beliefs. Now, you may not have a war in your city or your town or your country, but you will have more problems in your life because you're focusing on terrible things. And whatever we focus on grows in our experience. So remember that the next time you turn the news on. I know it's tempting, and everywhere you go, there are TVs. I went to the laundromat yesterday with my kids because our washing machine went out, and I haven't got it fixed yet. Somebody gave me one, but I just have to go pick it up. Okay, and there's a TV in there, and it's really hard to keep your eyes off of it. I caught myself looking over there and wanting to see what's going on. They bait you. Okay, but I managed to stay away from it. I read something instead. So I make a conscious effort, and I suggest you do too, to put into your mind what you want to experience in your outer world, in your life, with your family, with your friends, in your work, your business, your endeavors, whatever that happens to be. Don't feed yourself with constant news media fear, negativity. How often do they talk about the good things that happen in the world? They don't. That's not what they use on the news. That doesn't make you afraid. Can you imagine how wonderful the world would be if we put good news on there? Good news. But we don't. Okay, let me see. Oh, here's the future. Here's one here. This is a regular video. The history of brainwashing from Pavlov to social media. Now there's something else too. Brainwashing. If you constantly hear these messages repetitively over and over and over and over again, they sink into your mind. And it causes you to act or causes you to be afraid. Very important what you allow into your mind. I talk about this quite often. I know I repeat things over and over daily. But how do you think you became the person you became today? By repetition of what you have thought, by repetition of what you were told by your parents, by repetition of what you hear on news media, by repetition of all these messages that bombard you every day. Now you think you don't hear a lot of these messages. For example, the commercials, you get the radio on, you think you don't listen to them, and you don't consciously, but everything goes into your subconscious mind. And your subconscious mind is what is running your life. And enough of that crap in your subconscious mind, you start taking actions on that. Not consciously, but you just do it subconsciously. These things get in there, and those commercials are made to get into your mind. Have you ever heard one that you just couldn't stand? Maybe it had a certain catchy tune to it that just was ignorant as hell. And then maybe a month or two later, you caught yourself singing that. It could have been just a song that you hated, and you even turned it off when it came on. And then all of a sudden, you catch yourself singing that tune that you hated. How can that be? Why would you do that? Or have you ever been around someone who used a phrase or they did something that you just, man, you thought that was stupid. And every time they did it, it just annoyed the hell out of you. But yet, in a month or two or sometime down the road, you found yourself doing that. You caught yourself doing it. And you think, why am I doing this? That's the power of subconscious programming, of what comes in from out there into your subconscious. And that can work against you, but you can use it to work for you if you take control of what you allow to come in there. That's why it's so important who you spend your time with. If you hang around with 4 millionaires, guess what? You're going to be the 5th one. If you hang around with 4 losers, guess what? You're going to be the 5th loser. That's just how it works. Surround yourself with people, messages, books, audios, YouTubes, whatever that you want to be. Surround yourself, engulf, immerse yourself, inundate yourself with that daily, weekly, monthly, day in, day out, and watch and see what happens to you. Watch and see how your world changes. And most important of all, keep a watch on your internal conversations. Think about what you're thinking about. We all talk to ourselves. We've all had those arguments with other people. You say this, he's going to say that, then you're going to say this, and he'll say that. And we repeat these over and over and over again. Now that argument may not manifest with that particular person, But in time, you will find yourself arguing with someone. It will make itself real in your outer world. The world will bear witness to that internal argument. And just in the same respect, it will bear witness to that internal success. If you have conversations with your friends about your success, see them telling you how happy they are for you that you succeeded in whatever endeavor you have. You do have an endeavor, don't you? You have a goal? You have it written down? If not, write it down. Less than 1% of the people have written goals, because when you write it down, it becomes tangible. It becomes real to you. And then you have to take action on it. You have a desire within you. I don't know what it is, but you know what it is. Something that you believe you could never do, but it keeps coming up. It keeps coming up in your, it bubbles up from your subconscious. That is what you came here to do, but only you can do it. You have to step out. And I'm going to quote it again, and I may do it every day. Martin Luther King Jr., you don't have to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step. Then the rest will be revealed to you. So many of you, and I've done this too, don't want to start off because you don't see how it could possibly unfold to you, how you could possibly do it. I can't see the way. You will never know the way. Make a plan the best you can and then move forward. You know the first thing you need to do. Do that. You will be guided by a power greater than yourself. God, if you like, higher self, divinity, whatever name you choose to call that. That power that lies within all of us, that lies within everything. It will draw to you your dominant thoughts, your desires, what you dominantly think about daily, over and over and over again. You have control over what goes on in your mind. In your kingdom is within you. You are the king of that kingdom. If you were a king of a material kingdom, a world, let's say King Arthur and his kingdom, would you allow criminals and killers and murderers, other tribes that you know were going to rob your city and kill your people, would you allow them into your city? Of course you wouldn't. Then why do you allow this garbage from the news and things, movies, that horrific things that you don't want to happen in your life? These all make an impression on the subconscious mind. Now, that's not to say if you watch a horror movie that you're going to have that terrible thing happen to you, but if you continually allow these things into your mind, it will eventually manifest something similar in your outer world. Maybe not something that's dramatic, but similar misery or pain into your life. Maybe through an emotional breakup with your lover, or a loss of a job, your boss or something. But it will manifest itself somehow. And the opposite of that, if you program yourself or have the input of what you want in your life, happy, joyful, wonderful things, then that too will manifest itself in your outer world. Okay, I've had a good time today. I hope you have too. If you would like to get my help personally, marksinspiration.com is my website. My email is marksinspirationalguidance@gmail.com. And if this has been of value to you, you can hit the PayPal button on my, what is it called? My channel page. Donate $1, $2, whatever you feel like the value of this is. And if not, hey, I'm glad you're here. Like and subscribe now. Do that. Push that like button and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. We got a video coming out every day that I know will be of value to you. Hey, thanks for joining me, and I will see you tomorrow.